All right, Cage, episode 662. Believe that's correct, or maybe 660. Yep, 662 of Lucas Tigers and Bronzo My, the number one sports card podcast in the game, the only one that brings you content on a daily basis, from guests to in-depth analysis into the MLB, basketball, NFL markets. A little scouting on who's next, who's up and coming. So if you guys feel that we bring value, that you enjoy our show, you enjoy our banter, you enjoy when Cage makes his movie quotes, maybe I'll give you guys a quote from a book that I've learned or something like that. Smash that subscribe button. Hit
Smash
the like
it.
button. Leave a comment. Share it with a friend. We never charge for our content ever. We really work hard to bring you guys the best content out there. So we appreciate any and all of the support. We've been talking a lot of NBA recently. I saw a few good posts today, kind of questions asking, what people think about the market as a whole. The stock market has been down the last few days, so there's that and how that affects cards. I'll ask you, Cage. I know you're going live and whatnot in 35 minutes, so we'll keep it to right that 35 minutes. What are you thinking about? What are you curious about? What's top of mind for you? How are you looking at your portfolio? What are you buying? What are you selling? What are you annoyed with? What are you happy about with that?
Listen, how about this? How am I annoyed with? Hypothetically speaking, I won't name the auction house, okay? What I'm annoyed with. Be careful if you decide to consign with somebody, all right? Negotiate everything, all right? And don't assume that what deal you had in place previously is going to be held over for you on future consignments to an auction house, okay? Hypothetically speaking, perhaps I was contacted by an auction house that I previously sold stuff through, and they said, "Hey, our big auction's coming. Do you have anything?" And I happen to have like one item still in. I mean, I'll narrow it down, right? One item that they still haven't shipped to me. And I said, "Oh well, I paid $7,000 for this. I think I paid more. And you guys are still holding it. Why don't you sell it? I don't really need it. It's not one that I should have bought. It was one of these like impulse buys. And shockingly, it was one of those ones that was only about 4,000. It was only about $5,500 when I went into extended bidding. And all of a sudden, like my max bid kept getting hit and going up 250, 500, 250, 500. There was a lot of extended bidding interest in this card. I only bought a couple months ago. Anyway, I said, go ahead and sell it. So they sell it. I got a check in the mail today. It only sold, including the buyer's premium, for like $5,200, right around where it was last time when I was bidding. Before that extended bidding, what Rick Probstein would call shill bidding, right? In the extended bidding. But none of that happened on mine because I wasn't bidding my own card up. I didn't have anybody bid my card up for me. So I wound up losing $3,000, almost $4,000 on it because, that $5,000 and change was actually including 20% premium. But I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll pocket $4,250. I'll add it to the money that this auction house is already holding for me, and it'll be great, nice and easy. In today's mail, a check shows up. It's not a check for my whole balance, which is weird. It's just a check for this card, this one card that just sold with them. And I look at it, and I know what the last bid was without the 20% buyer's premium, right? And the check is not for that amount. It's for that amount and then a little less than that amount, right? I'm looking at it, I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? I was charged, so not only was there a 20% buyer's premium, which the last time I sold, I only paid, I think 15%. I think I got a piece of the buyer's premium. But not only did I not get any of the buyer's premium, I was charged a 5% commission by this auction house. On top of them taking 20% buyer's premium, I lost 5% on the card.
25%.
So they took 25% off of the total amount. The auction
on a $5,000 card.
On a $5,000.
Could have just sold it. Could have just sold it through eBay for 12%.
As easy as could be. right? I just assumed, I guess, because the same person I was dealing with the same. They reached out to me. Do I have anything to sell? I just assumed, I guess, I'd be getting the same kind of deal, and I realized I should have made that clear. I should have done that all up front, but it never occurred to me that I was going to go from getting a piece of the buyer's premium to paying a commission. And I think the problem is, I think I could probably fix this if I wanted to and wanted to take the time to get my $200 and something back, this 5%. But it's actually worth the content, right? Because not everybody is the big D swinger that Cage is and can just say, hey, auction house, give me my money back, right? So beware is all the lesson to be learned here. Because if you're going to auction something off with an auction house, make sure you know what you're being charged ahead of time. And it sounds like it should be pretty straightforward, right? It sounds like everyone should know this. But these auctions, it's amazing. Like, they'll email you on a Thursday and be like, Friday's our deadline for this great auction. It's going to be in there with, like, the best stuff. You got anything that could go in? And you're like, yeah, this is in the vault. Go ahead and put this in. Not the PWCC vault. This is in the vault. And by the way, we're sponsored by PWCC, and this is not the whole 9 yards. You name it, the whole deal. Yes. But anyway, it's a funny thing, So they'll call you and they'll rush you, and they'll be like, hey, get it in, but you got to get it in today. And I'm like, sure, yeah, take it. It's in the vault. Go ahead, put it in.
The way you tell stories is actually very fascinating. Who are you speaking? No,
water companies flushing water.
Do you think our industry needs to be regulated?
I don't know, man. There's nothing untoward about this, right? I'm sure this is in the handbook.
Shady. It's not unethical.
No. This is on me. No BS. I want to make it completely clear. This is on me. I did not take the affirmative step when I said put this in the auction to ask and say, okay, last time I got 105% of hammer. Am I getting that? No? Okay, you can still take the full buyer's premium, but you're going to charge me waive the commission at the very least, right? But I didn't do that. It was a rush. I said, all right, we'll deal with it. It is what it is. Lesson learned.
So you submit a card that you have in a vault to be sold. Because you don't ask, they could basically take whatever they want. They could take 40%.
They're not taking whatever they want. This is the standard deal. Most auction houses have both a buyer's premium and a commission. They're taking from both the buyer and the seller. If you have a relationship with them or you're selling a big enough card, then it's usually waived. You know what I mean? Like the auction house, they don't have to be that greedy. They're taking the whole 20%. Most of the time, they'll work something out with you where that 20% is even split. I've had that with Heritage. I've had that with Golden. I've had that with a bunch of places. This particular time around.
So then when you go to a show,
Yeah,
and people offer 70 to 80% of comps, you know how some people freak out about that? Mm-hmm. They're like, you're just lowballing.
Yep.
And Coffee Breakers got a bad rep because they would offer 70, 80% of comps. Remember Dan Fleischman came on the show?
Yeah.
But that's literally exactly what the base rate for an auction house to take.
Yeah.
So what are people whining about?
It's actually, think about it. They add 20% on to the full, so they're actually taking, and then they take 5% of what the net was to me. So, yeah. I only got 95% of the hammer on it. So, yeah, it's kind of shitty. And the funny thing is because I'm holding money there, I actually emailed them yesterday and was like, hey, this auction ended a couple weeks ago. There's nothing about it in my account. It says paid. How did you pay me? By the way, I don't expect you to pay me. Just add this to the balance I have on account with you. And I got no response because it was just yesterday. That's fine. But in the mail comes a check. The point is, I think a lot of these auction houses and a lot of the companies in the hobby that have grown, they lose a little bit of that customer service. They lose a little bit of that one-on-one type of stuff. And even someone like me who has an account rep and somebody who reaches out to me asking for what, hey, we know you have some items that we think would go good with this particular auction. Even me, I was probably just passed on after the auction was sold. It was okay, go ahead, send the auction to the accounting team, and they don't know who I am or whatever it is, and they just did the thing. And don't get me wrong, right? I know with one message I can fix this. Right, and with one message, I can get a check for the balance. Right, so it's not really outrage. Right, this is on me. I blame myself entirely for this. It's more a look. We try to provide value for our folks. Right, I get messages all the time. I got this great card. I just got this back from PSA. I just got this back from SGC. I just got this card. I picked it up at at a show a year ago. With this one was my dad's. Where should I sell it? Right. And I'll usually, based on the type of car, make a recommendation because every auction house has something that they're special. They have a specialty in, and you can maximize it at a specific place, right? But I've never gone as far as to tell people when you're negotiating the deal with them, read the fine print, check for a commission on top of the buyer's premium. So the value add here, you asked me what annoyed me. Yeah, I mean, a couple $100. That's some Chick-fil-A this weekend, man. That I can't have now, and you know me. I mean, I'm emaciated. I mean, I'm
who
hungry.
are these auction houses benefiting? Are they benefiting the sellers? Are they benefiting the buyers?
They're benefiting themselves to take 25% of a $5,000 card.
They're just going to take as much of the vig as possible.
And basically, the old saying, right? It's like it's better to ask for forgiveness, right? It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Right? They do this to enough people, and you got enough idiots like me who either don't realize or just get a check or put it in the bank or whatever it is, or don't have the time to bother with a couple $100 or $1,000. Everyone has time to bother with a couple $100,000, by the way. But there are people out there who have a lot of money. They figure, all right, we'll throw one by. And if they happen to complain, if I happen to message them and say, hey, by the way, ixnay on this emission K, they'll give it back to me. I know they will.
Yeah, but that's so that's not a ask for forgiveness, not permission thing. That's unscrupulous and unethical. And I actually
it's
don't
not
know which
unscrupulous and unethical. I'm telling you, it's
finish.
in the agreement. They can do this. You have to negotiate it out when you give them the card. It's not unethical. This is part of the agreement, I'm sure. The only problem is I don't even remember getting an agreement on this last one. The first time around, big contract signing and all this crap. This time around was just like,
so,
oh yeah.
As I was saying, this is unscrupulous and unethical, but it's funny. I don't know which auction house you're talking about. I have a hint, and if it's the one that you are talking about, it's one that always has kind of navigated the hobby more on smoke and mirrors than on building a good business. So if you look, the tech has never been good. The vaulting isn't even on site. It's just like a PO box that they basically got somewhere. It's an owner, a founder who's had run-ins with his own card company and issues with that. So it's someone who has been unscrupulous before. It's someone who's been unethical before. And that's who I think you're talking about. I don't like that, man. Before we partnered with PWCC, I got into it with their team because I had like 50 different invoices on my account. And I was like, how am I supposed to do due diligence when I see like 89 cents, 44 cents, $1.33? Can you just combine this and make it really seamless and easy? And we had a discussion and they explained why they do that. But like, I don't know. These auction houses are very interesting in how they behave. I guess the Cage's point is negotiate everything, know what you're signing, know what you're getting into.
Well, listen, what's funny, man, when I went to law school, right, I was going to go to the school that I got into, the best school. And I don't know if I ever told this story. It's a good one, right? I'll try to keep it brief, which I'm not good at. But I lived in a fraternity house, and there were a lot of guys, several floors of the house. It wasn't a traditional fraternity house. It was a shithole in Binghamton. They don't allow fraternity houses. So anyway, I got a good score on the LSAT. I was applying to schools. I got in a bunch of them. I hadn't made up my decision on where I was going to go. And I'm downstairs in another suite in the house, and a phone call comes in from one of the law schools. And it's for a fraternity brother. And they said, hey, is blah, blah, blah here, Dan? I said, no, but I got in your school. And they said, well, we'll see you in August then, right? And I said, probably not. You're the second best school I got into. And the one that's better than you offered me $1,000 scholarship per year. Like, what would that pay for, right? Pay for my books, maybe one book, right? And they're like, really? All right, well, what's your name? What's your phone number? You name it. And they say, can we call you in a half an hour? I went upstairs and they called me and they offered me $3,000 a year. And I spent the next couple of months playing these two schools off of each other. And they back and forth continued to offer more money in the scholarship for me, where at the August 1st comes around, I hadn't enrolled in a law school. Law school starts like August 16th or something like that. Memory serves. This is over 20 years ago, guys. Another school calls me out of the blue, a school I didn't even apply to. And they said, we got the scores. You're one of the top 10% scorers, on the LSAT. But you're not enrolled in a school. We want to have you out here. And can we get in the game? Now, this school was worse than these three, but I went out and I sat down with them and I wound up getting a full scholarship. Almost. I paid a couple $100, right? And I would have had to pay, 6 figures for law school if I didn't happen to luck into finding this out. And everybody who I talk to now who's going to law school, I tell them about this. I say, by the way, ask the school for money. Tell them that you're going to this other school that's comparable to them and that they're giving you money. And you'll see that they play off of each other to get you. You're now the candidate. They will compete for you. I had no clue that this. I didn't have any lawyers in my family. Most of my family was uneducated. My father, didn't know anything about this, and no one told me this. Right? I stumbled upon it. So now I've stumbled upon this commission thing. I knew about it. The goal here is to let people know how stuff works so that they can figure out for themselves and negotiate and navigate these landmines, right?
So is the lesson when you have your cards in hand, make sure to get leverage, make sure to have these companies compete for you? How do you action that? Because, you could have never got
if you have
call.
your
That call
card,
came out of the blue.
correct.
Cage.
It was completely out of. So, but if you have a card you're looking to auction, and let's say you have two sites that you're thinking about auctioning it with, yes, you get on the phone and say, what am I going to lose out of this? And when they tell you 20% buyer's premium goes to them and then you lose a 5% commission, first thing you say is, can you waive this? If they say no, call the other people. Ask them if they can waive it. If one waives it and the other didn't, you call them back and you say, these guys waived it. Will you waive it? By the way, they also offered me 2% of the buyer's premium as a bonus because this card is a great card.
Of work. You might lose more money. You might lose more money in work.
It's only a phone call or email or whatever it is. But I'm not telling you have to negotiate crazy, but know what you're getting into. Because some of the contracts are pretty wordy, and you assume the hammer price is coming to the person who sells it. And I can speak from experience today that did not happen to me. Maybe I'm a schmuck on wheels, as they say in Goodfellas. But anyway, so you asked me what annoyed me today. That annoyed me today a little bit, definitely.
Gaining leverage is the game.
It shouldn't have to be. It's being educated. It's knowing what's there, right? Because I guarantee this is not the first time this has happened to anyone. And if anyone in our audience is thinking about auctioning, listen, PwCC sponsors us. You just kind of said the invoice, I think, annoys you. They tell you right up front what's going to happen. And they have a sliding scale of, if your card sells for this much in our auction, this is how much we take. It's not 20%. It's this. There's a minimum fee. Like Premier Auction, I sold a card in the PwCC Premier Auction, last Premier Auction, and it sold for $36,000, including the buyer's premium. And, the hammer was 30. I got 33,000. They got 3, and I got 3 of the buyer's premium. Because when the card sold for that much money, they're really only taking 10% of that buyer's premium, and I'm taking 10%. They split it. So compare that. You can catch me outside. Run and tell that.
Dude, that girl killed it. She made $50 million in her first year on OnlyFans?
I did not know she had an OnlyFans.
Dude,
But thank you, because you're bringing value to our audience also. One, there are a certain segment of them that will now look up her OnlyFans. Two, the vast majority of them are just laughing at you right now. So thank you.
This girl, the Cash Me Outside girl,
Catch me outside. That's what I said.
she was like 16 when that happened.
Uh-huh.
When she turned 18, she made an OnlyFans and she made 50 mil in the first year.
I've been telling
and she
you
bought like a
since
7.
Episode 8, you should have an OnlyFans account, man.
I
People
mean,
want to see your feet. I get messages about it all the time. Goldberg's got to have really nice feet. Can he send me pictures of his feet? I get the.
Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure this was with clothes on. It's a crazy business model. I mean, like, think about this. This girl was on Maury, turns 18, and makes an OnlyFans of 50 mil. I mean, you guys could look this up.
I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Ryan's toy review is making billions, so it doesn't surprise me.
He made 50 million off OnlyFans in the last year.
I mean, good for her.
That she's a rapper too. I mean,
rap one of her songs for me. Rap. Give me.
I don't know any of her
couple
songs. I don't know any of her songs. I mean, when I heard the news, I was like, this is wild. But I like the transparency. One thing that always kind of ticked me off was PSA's upcharging. Like, I always felt that was unethical. When you would, I don't know if you guys know, like, you send a card in, like let's say you send in Mbappe. This is a good example. You send an Mbappe
Son
base.
Of a bitch, why'd you have to use that as the example?
Well, I actually think that shows how unscrupulous they were. Tell the story of when this was 2020. I think you sent in the Mbappe cards March or April 2020, and you got them back August 2020. But they came back PSA 9s, but they still got upcharged.
9s and 10s, right? So I sent them in, and they were selling for, like, at the time they were like $25 raw, right? And the PSA 10s were a couple $100, right? And then, of course, everything exploded. And in August, by the time I got them back, the 9s were $1,000 and the 10s were $3,000. I sent them in on a bulk because they were literally $25 cards, right? And I sent in a lot of them, right? Every 9 they upcharged me. Every 10 they upcharged me even more. They charged me like I could look it up. I still have the emails from them, right? It's something I definitely saved. But I didn't just get upcharged for the I think it was like either 25 and 50 or 50 and 100 per card, right? It was a lot because I put them in at $8 a card, right? And all of a sudden it was 25 and 50 or 50 and 100. It was like something nuts, right? As a matter of fact, it might have even been more than that. I mean, I should look it up. I apologize because by the time they actually came back to me, the cards were already on their way down, even though they upcharged me. And the 9s, I wound up selling 9s later on for like not much more than the upcharge. It was just crazy because I've said that on the show. I wish I could email them back and be like, give me my upcharge back, right?
Right. And that's the point. Like, I mean, I think we all agree, and I think we're all capitalists. Like, all of us who play with cards, who buy cards, want to sell them for more money. I mean, it's pretty capitalistic. You buy it here for 10, you sell it there for 20. Cool, amazing. Like that's what it's like the lemonade stand, right? You buy lemons, you set up a stand, you get sugar, you get water, you turn it into lemonade, then you sell it for $1, you make your profit, etc. Steal underpants, make profit. The South Park episode,
exactly.
But I think what we want as a hobby is a little bit more honesty and transparency with the leaders in the space.
I think that's fair. I think it's definitely fair. 100%. Especially if we're going to attract minds, financial minds, if we're going to attract the Michael Saylors.
Do you even know who Michael Saylor is?
Yeah, he's a pirate. I looked him up. He's got an eye patch. He's a drunken
CEO
sailor.
Of Microvision,
he buys a lot of Bitcoin. I looked him up.
Who's now Bitcoin company.
I looked him up. I would take him in a fight really easy. That's all I care about. Step into the cage with me, you're going down. But you
has
get
a
my
really
point,
good
right?
episode, a 4-hour episode with
4
Lex
hours.
Friedman. If you guys ever get a chance to listen to
4
it,
hours.
I listened to it on the way down here.
Listen,
Smart people talk about
he should have bought Consensus, is what he should have bought. if he could have. But now they're not. They're still private. They just took in another funding round, Consensus, and that's where I would want my money. But it's But the point is, yes, you're going to need that transparency, right? What's funny is, how does that upcharge help collectors? Investors like me, flippers like me, I get it. They should smack me. They should gauge the value of that card on the day it leaves their facility and upcharge me, because the assumption, I guess, from Collectors Universe at the time, different entity, by the way, this is a long time ago. This is pre-Nat. So Nat, you are scot-free of any blame here. But at the time, they were taking in a flipper mentality, which was, this guy's going to get these cards and immediately sell them. And he's going to sell them for $1,000 and $3,000. So we got to charge him $100 and $300 or whatever the hell it was. It was a lot of money. It was no small amount. It wasn't like take my $8 and making it 20. It was a lot of money. And it was like the upcharge was several $1,000s in upcharges. And they didn't think, oh, this guy must be holding. Maybe he's a collector, right? Because how could you do that? Cards go up, cards go down. Imagine we're all just collectors. Is there a statute of limitations on the upcharge? Certain cards have gone up a lot, right? Can they email me like the IRS and email me 3 years after the thing and say, that Michael Jordan that you graded, that's gone 10x since we graded it. You're a collector. We know you still have the card. We're going to upcharge you now. I mean, what's the limitation? I'm just giving you stupid scenarios because I know you hate
same
the
with
upcharge.
this auction house. Take this auction house on a $5,000 card. They took 25%, right?
Yep.
How does that help collectors or the hobby at all? That's 25% less money than you're putting back into the market. And
makes me wish I had somebody help me with the bids. Maybe they could take 25% more of a bigger number, because at least my 75% would have been nice instead of a nice loss.
Right. So
I'm just kidding, everybody.
What is? It's just funny. I don't like that stuff. I don't like. I just like knowing upfront what I'm paying and what I'm getting for it. But I think the lesson of today's episode is negotiate up front. Know when you have leverage when you hold the
know everything. That's the thing. That's
not actionable.
No, it is actionable about your own deal.
Become a genius.
No, come on. It's, if you're going to do this, the information is out there, right? Don't assume that it's only going to be this. Don't assume that you even have to pay 20%, right? You got a good enough card, you know that buyer's premium, you might get a piece of it. But read the fine print and know ahead of time. Ask questions, right? If you're going to send a card, now you guys know from Cage, you have to ask ahead of time, what is my net going to be on this? Are you charging a commission in addition to the buyer's premium? That's your question. And if they say yes, ask if they'll waive it or go someplace that will, especially if you have a desirable enough card. Maybe my $5,000 Jordan card wasn't desirable enough for them to waive the commission. I don't know. But yeah, I was surprised. I saw the check and I was like, this is supposed to be a couple $100 more than this.
It's interesting, man. The hobby doesn't have that many players that have been around for a very long time as is, right? And there's also with the Star Stock situation, that's left a bad taste in people's mouths one way or another, right? We've been able to help a few people get their cards back, but who knows the repercussions that's going to have right down the road.
You know what there is, man? The market, it's gotten different than it was in the last couple of years, and businesses are looking for a way to squeeze as much money as they can out, especially the successful ones. Now, what does that mean? You are a consumer here, right? What does that mean for the overall market? Maybe try to find companies that are being generous with their success rather than trying to squeeze every penny out of their transactions. And
it's never been more important to build your own personal brand and reputation online. I think Basketball Card Guy does it the best. The more I'm in this hobby, I see why people don't grade, right? And we're sponsored by a grading company. I see why people don't grade. I see why people are scared to vault because, like it or not, you send your cards away, someone else is the custodian. So here he has all his cards in his possession. He doesn't grade, and he has an awesome social personality. He goes to shows. So he does all of his deals in person or via Instagram, most of them, some on Whatnot, I'm sure. But I think the pendulum's gonna swing back the other way, right, Cage?
I mean, bad actors will kind of ruin it, right? You're talking about vaulting, and I'm talking about auction houses taking commissions on top of buyer's premium. I mean, everything in the hobby has had a stain on it. You want to talk about breakers, right? I mean, we all know the tale of the Kaboom Gold, Trevor Lawrence. You want to talk about group submitters? I mean, everybody's reading along with the bankruptcy action and whose cards they are and whether or not people are going to get them back, right? So that's auction houses, that's breakers, that's group submitters. Now, it doesn't mean they're all bad, right? It
They
doesn't
have a
mean
business model, guys. There should be a Yelp for the hobby where people leave their reviews on a central free site.
Call it Andrew's List.
Yeah. There's a million billion. Dude, Angie's List got bought for
Andrew's List. Andrew's
I like
List.
coming up. That was cool. You guys got to see how the sausage is made.
How
We
the sausage
complain
is made.
basically. We complain for 30
Boom,
minutes
where it
and 55
happened.
seconds, and then a $1 billion idea comes out of it.
Listen, guys, a little note. And send us a message. I mean, I don't know how we're going to do it, but moving up in the world. And I think Andrew, in his Florida move, has found a way to grease some palms or do something down there. I don't know what he's doing. People like him. He smiles. And I think Lucas, Tigers, and Browns might be able to get their hands on a National Treasures football box next week on release day that we'll be able to break somehow. I don't know. Andrew's a stud here. So people like him. I don't know what's going on. I've never broken anything even comparable to that. So it's going to be interesting, man. It really is. And look, if you're listening to this and you made it through to the end, my question
Why don't
for
you
you,
ever tell the real story?
you can comment at the end. You could do it on YouTube if you're watching YouTube. You can send us a message. Breaking a box of National Treasures, gloves or no gloves? That's the question.
I'm in the camp of no gloves.
I'm in the no gloves too, but I don't want to steer the answer. You always yell at me for doing that when a question gets asked.
I mean,
Don't give it, 'cause
obviously
you got-
wash your hands, but like people over exaggerate
I
how
wanna eat while
dirty
I'm
your
doing it.
hands are.
You know, greasy hands. You know, gonna have greasy hands with some Cheetos on them.
But dude,
You know,
some
and
people just have sweaty hands too.
What
Like,
better
that is-
way to make a single color patch multicolor? You know, you rub some like Cheeto dust on it or something. Now all of a sudden you get some orange. That Bengals patch looks even better. You know. No.
When I used to work at the cafe, there were definitely the customers that would come in and be like, "Why is the chef not wearing gloves?" But you'd go to a nice restaurant, and no chef ever wore gloves. But like, it's the perception reality thing, right? It's a really interesting, because I remember there were customers. My dad would even say like, "Got to put your gloves on for this person." But I remember this, the health inspection place, they did not require using gloves to make sandwiches. They just required that you had a 3-compartment sink. Anyway, we deviate. No, but this,
Yeah.
I mean, this has been
The health department's regulating it. I mean, that's the thing that's missing, the regulation. Should there be regulation for breakers? And at what price threshold are gloves required? $1,000 box?
there should be like a triple bureau, triple B, baby back bitch. You remember that longest yard?
Yes.
Your baby back bitch, triple B. That was fun.
Got my hamburger.
Whether it's a government agency or private, like Angie's List, I do think that they're Andrew's List. I do
Andrew's
think
List.
that there's something there. Oh,
I think you might be right. Listen,
Then
you know what we need to
together
talk
we can
about?
hold bad business practices accountable.
Let's hold them accountable together. The Bucks and the Warriors move on with ease. What happens tonight? 3 games.
Great predictions, by the way, Cage.
I appreciate that. The Warriors looked like they didn't look as infallible as they have, but when it came time to put them away, they put them away. Steph put them to sleep. 3 games tonight. Unless I'm mistaken, all 3 road teams have a shot to close it out on the road.
That's correct.
Utah is
All pick 'em
favored.
lines too.
like by a
All
point.
pick 'em lines.
Yeah, they were all
Yeah.
very close. Like Utah's favored by a point. I think they were all between like one point in any direction.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
think any home team forces a game 7?
You got to bounce. So I think, dude, I don't know what to think. All of these, I'm not going to make predictions on any of these because all of these teams are a little bit erratic right now. Like,
There you go, guys. That's the hard-hitting analysis you tune in for.
well, there's angles. Like Embiid is here saying Harden has to play like himself. Well, Embiid, you got to play like yourself. Like you got to close this series out, right?
Yeah.
So will they reel Embiid? Please step up. Doc Rivers is a joke of a coach. I do think the Suns close it out, but dude, the Pelicans they have the home crowd. They're fighting for their lives. You never want to count out a hungry dog. And then the Jazz, I think the Jazz are a joke of a team. I think 3 games ago they had one offensive rebound. One offensive rebound. I think it was in game 3 or 4. You guys could look this up. But it's not like the Mavs are world beaters either, you know?
Brandon Clark had 9, by the way, for comparison.
Yeah. What I will say,
My God.
and this is my angle, is Middleton being out is going to show you guys how great Giannis really is. Everyone's like, oh, Middleton is out for the series. That's not good. It's actually going to show you guys how truly great Giannis is.
Last night, I think it was, Charles Barkley did an analysis of the Bucks, and he basically said the Bucks are taking it. And everybody else was on the Celtics, and he's like, you guys don't even realize how good Giannis is. And by the way, Drew Holiday is a player. He's a legit player. That when they added him, I said they would win a championship, and he's going to win it again. And I was like, how much did Andrew pay Charles Barkley? Because he channeled his inner Goldberg.
Sir Charles. You guys know I've been on the Bucks for a while. Cage punched his head for a while. Bucks were 7-1, which I thought was an outrageous line. And it's not just Giannis, dude. Bobby Portis is a good player. Brook Lopez
crazy
is
eyes.
a good player.
He looks like
They
a Latino
have a
man.
good team. Serge Ibaka is a great defender.
He's 112 years old.
I mean, sure, but it's not like it's just like Giannis is incredible, no question. But they have a good team and they have continuity. They've been together for a while.
I mean, they got Grayson Allen.
Grayson Allen's come into his own, man. He's a good 3-point shooter.
Duke. Everybody hates people from Duke, and that's another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Browns. Everybody.
And Grayson's kind of a tool bag. He just like injures people on purpose.
Yeah, you kind of need that guy on your team that's got 6 fouls and uses them all. That's what I'm going to do for you at Culture Collision next year.
Please don't trip anybody or break Caruso's
Forget about
wrist.
it. No one will see. The key is not getting caught.
All right, Luca Nation. Peace.